Africa is a continent with more than 50 countries and over 1.2 billion people, but what do you know about this fascinating place? Have you ever wondered what life is like in Africa? I'm going to show you some things that might surprise you about the African continent, as well as give you a top 10 list of things that you didn't know about living in Africa. Let's take a look. This list goes in no particular order, but I'll start with one of my favorite things about African culture, which is the food.
Welcome to Majestic Life, a video hub where you find most amazing, interesting, unique and mind-blowing videos that you, your friends and your family will love.
Food is all so good, and it's so hard to pick a favorite meal because there's so many delicious foods to choose from, and I cannot forget to mention the spices. The cuisine varies from country to country because each culture has its own way of living. Some countries use a lot of wheat products, some use a lot of rice products, but there's one thing that a majority of African countries have in common. They like to use a lot of bananas. One food that you may have seen before is usually called ugali, insima, fufu, and goes by many different names. Many people eat this food with their hands. It doesn't have much of a taste, but many people around Africa eat this kind of food. Moving on to number 2 is the coffee. Coffee was first discovered in Africa by European traders who used Africa as a stopping point during their journey from Africa to Europe. But Africans have taken coffee and made something that they can call their own by adding spices like cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and other flavors Africans enjoy. Moving on to the third one, we have religion. Africa is home to many religions, even though Africa has no official religion. Most African countries are mainly dominated by Islam or Christianity, and many African states like South Africa have many religions present. Moving on to number 4, Africa has the world's largest desert. The largest desert in Africa is called the Sahara Desert, and its size is 9.4 million square kilometers. It is the largest hot desert in the world and the third largest desert overall, smaller than the deserts of Antarctica and the North Arctic. Moving on to number 5, African cities are growing faster than the world average. Africa is mostly known for its large landmass and not so much for its urban population. However, African cities are actually growing at a faster rate than other countries in the world. Africa has the second largest urban population after Asia. This excludes metropolitan areas. African cities are growing 5.4 times faster than the world average, and Africa is seen as a continent with the highest urban. Moving on to number 6, African music can be dated back to the 1600s. African music is usually associated with African drums, but this type of instrument existed well before African tribes adopted it into their culture. The African djembe drum is actually believed to have been developed by African slaves in the 17th century in West Africa. Moving on to number 7, Africans have actually been sailing the oceans for centuries. African sailors have been known to navigating and sailing around Africa as early as the 12th century AD. African empires around the world were a recurring theme in African history, especially in Africa's southeastern coast. Moving on to number 8, Africa is the world's poorest continent. Africa has 20% of the world's resources, but 80% of its people live on less than $2 a day. African countries are infamous for corruption, which also hinders their growth. Africa's bureaucracy is seen as one of the biggest obstacles African countries face today. African politicians are famous for taking bribes, which only makes it harder for Africa's economy to prosper. Moving on to number 9, Africa's size. Africa is known as the second largest continent in the world and spans over 30 million square kilometers. Africa's vast landscape includes deserts, mountains, forests, and jungles. Africa boasts over 50 countries, 2,000 languages, and hundreds of ethnic groups. Moving on to number 10, Africa has the lowest life expectancy. People that live in Africa don't live as long due to the high rates of poverty. African countries are known to be some of the poorest countries in the world. Africa has shown a huge potential for growth, but African corruption and bureaucracy may be hindering its progress. I hope you enjoyed this video about Africa, and I hope you learned something new today. There's so much more to Africa than what you see on the TV or read in the news. If you'd like to learn more about African history, geography, business, or interesting people on the continent, please don't forget to like this video as well as comment below.